Coming up.
Was this the result of a drunken evening down the pub?
It's probably less tight than it is now, I think.
You know what would be fun?
And the rest, as they say,
Is history.
and it may be entirely wrong.
I sound like an evil East End gangster.
But that's okay, that was what the client wants, I was going to say.
You didn't throw away any single word.
It all sounds like fun, really, doesn't it?
You had sex.
Standing with your hands on your hips, your eyes rolling.
Oh, teenagers, honestly, what they like.
Let's see what comes out, shall we?
Professional improviser.
Hello, I'm a talking banana.
And now, enjoy the podcast.
How do you say that?
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 Hello and welcome to today's episode of How'd You Say That? Sponsored by VoxBox, the portable, foldable, storable audio booth. This is my co-host Mark Rice.
Hello! And that's Sam Boffin.
Yes, hello. Every week Mark and I get together and we chat about scripts and voiceover and how to get even better at what we all do.
And we do that by inviting a special guest to chat about it with us. So if you fancy a bit of that, then stay tuned because this podcast is especially for you.
Yes. Now, this week's fun fact about Mark is that he has just rebranded his Santa and Friends website. That's very seasonal.
Well, you know I am an award-winning Santa. An award-winning Santa, Sam. It's like I've just redone santamessages.uk so that mums and dads or aunties and uncles can book and have a personalised message for their kid.
Such a segue into such a delicate
Plug. A delicate
plug for you.
plug.
Yes, exactly. A delicate plug.
Very, very festive. Sam's fun fact, though, is that one day a week she teaches all day at a drama school in Brighton.
I do.
And
Tomorrow,
you have
in
to get up
fact.
very early, don't you?
I do. I get up very early to drive down and I get back very late. And I have to set up for every single lesson.
Oh.
I have to set up and then dismantle at the end of it all of the equipment.
Wow.
Because I'm trying to get them to get familiar with the equipment.
So in this year's intake, have you got any budding great voiceover artists?
Yeah, there's always some really good ones actually, and they teach me so much every week. Honestly, they genuinely open my eyes to a lot of things, so they're great. Yeah.
Nice.
And of course, we also have a very special guest, voice actor Simon Wells.
Hello, Simon.
Hello, both of you. I was just enjoying listening to your beautiful tones chatting away. feel bad for interrupting.
Oh.
Well, that's helpful because we're stuck with each other for the next however long it is.
Indeed.
Let's find out more about Simon, shall we, Sam?
Simon is a voiceover who is based in London. He specialises in corporate and e-learning with the occasional character voice thrown in for fun. So he had a really unusual journey into voiceover because he left his previous job as a postie because of a back injury.
We may get to find out more. His dream, though, is to get into animation and gaming, as character voices are what he loves the most. He runs a weekly podcast called Factorially, where, along with fellow VO Bruce Fielding, remember Bruce, he chats about fun facts and useless information. He loves exploring London, live music and doing improv as well. Welcome to the podcast, Simon. You're a prolific podcaster yourself. Have you got a fun fact for us?
I have, yes. A fun fact about myself is I once played Bill Sykes in an amateur production of Oliver.
Oh,
Nice.
Wow.
Which, as you can tell, is my natural demeanour.
I was going to say, you've
I
got
sound like an evil East End gangster.
quite a gentle sound naturally. So how did you cope with a bit of Bill Sykes?
Do you know what? I love playing characters who are the opposite to me.
Yep.
Anything that's weird, anything that's unusual, anything that's got a funny squeaky voice or a silly accent, I love it. I actually find it easier to play someone who is different from myself because it's not quite so truthful almost. You know, you get up and play someone who's just yourself and it feels quite naked, but you know, you put on a voice like this and you tell Nancy to shut up a couple of times and it's
Wow,
great fun.
okay.
It's
great fun. Well, not for Nancy.
not for Nancy, clearly. No, spoilers.
Noted. Let's see what we can do in the wild card a bit later on in the show, shall we?
Absolutely, yeah.
So, right, well, let's have a look at our first script of the show and ask, how do you say that?
How do you say that?
All right, so Simon, can you tell us a bit about the script that you've brought in, please?
Yes, certainly. So, for a brief moment, I thought maybe I won't tell you anything. Maybe I'll just let you interpret it and see where you go. But for the sake of fairness, I thought, I'll tell you. So this is a piece of e-learning. I do.
Is it?
Yeah.
I hadn't picked up on that when I read it.
Ah, right. So it's funny, isn't it? To look at it, it could be an advert, it could be a corporate promo, it could be a wondrous novel, a piece of storytelling, but it's not. It's just a piece of e-learning. Specifically, it's from a company in China teaching students to speak English. So it's for that purpose. The content is almost irrelevant. It's all about the clear delivery, the good enunciation, teaching kids how to speak English as a second language.
I was going to say, because, once you said it was for students, and I was thinking, well, they can't possibly be wanting to be students who are trying to become astronauts. So that explains it. So it's not about the content, it's about learning the language itself.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly, yeah.
When I read it first, I wondered if it was for 8-year-olds.
Right.
Well, yes.
It's got that kind of childlike feel to it almost, hasn't it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So when I get these pieces of work, I get a demo speed to tell me the pace at which I should speak, and that kind of implies, slower speed for younger children, faster speed older children.
Right.
This one didn't come with that, so I was left to decide: shall I do this really slowly and almost patronisingly for little kids, or is it for an older audience? So that's up to you to pick.
Okay.
You or me first, Sam? You or me?
I don't mind. Do you want to go first, or I'm happy?
Go on then. All right. Do you dream of flying to the moon? If so, you should start training for it now. First, you need to have a strong body, so exercise every day and develop healthy living habits. Second, learn about space science and the moon by studying and reading books. Finally, you should also learn how to pilot a spaceship. These steps will help make your dream come true.
Ooh.
Nice. That was fun.
Lovely. So much more pedantic than you would normally do.
Yeah, much more.
but I see.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes, deliberately.
Yep.
So what did you think, Simon?
It was sort of very engaging, wasn't it? You could imagine a younger child, not ever so young, but you could imagine a kid listening to that going, oh, wow, yeah, I want to be an astronaut. It sounded quite engaging, quite enthusiastic.
I was worried if I was still too fast.
It depends on the age that you're pitching it to, I guess. I mentioned before the content isn't quite so important. It's just it's almost a list of words. Essentially, you're just reading words so that kids can learn how to say those words.
Wow.
Sometimes I inject a bit of energy into it. Sometimes I do it flat, depending on the spec that comes through.
Sure.
So it's quite open to interpretation, this one.
There were lots of lovely words I thought you got behind. The verbs particularly.
Yeah.
Exercise.
The dream of flying. And yeah.
There was a lovely lean in on finally, you should also learn how to pilot a spaceship.
Yeah, that was exciting.
I mean, it's a really nicely written line, that, anyway. It's like, that would help.
Yes, piloting a spaceship's always good.
When I first read this, it all sounds quite standard, quite matter of fact, and then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, you should also probably learn how to pilot a spaceship. Well, how do I do that?
Like you can just do it like a driving test.
Yeah, easy. I'll just go get a book.
Yes, totally. The Idiot's Guide to Piloting a Spaceship.
Astronauting for Dummies.
I'll be honest, I don't do much of any e-learning, so I'm not brilliant about judging it, but I would have thought that was in the right area.
Yeah.
Let's see what you do with it, Sam, then, in that case.
Yes, I don't really know what I'm going to do with it now. I'll probably choose a different audience then. Okay. Do you dream of flying to the moon? If so, you should start training for it now. First, you need to have a strong body, so exercise every day and develop healthy living habits. Second, learn about space science and the moon by studying and reading books. Finally, you should also learn how to pilot a spaceship. These steps will help make your dream come true.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, that sounded very educational. That sounded quite Jackanory-esque, didn't it?
That's a really good way of putting it. I also noticed, and you had it in your mind that it was English as a second language, you didn't throw away any single word at all, which we would normally do in a script like that, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think sometimes you just sort of one word slurs almost into another, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
was full of really appropriate pauses and spaces in between words. Everything sounded very well pronounced. Yeah,
I liked the way you said spaceship.
spaceship.
And you split those words, spaceship. Whereas I definitely threw that one together, I think.
No, I didn't. I am going to be then fascinated, Simon, by what you were actually asked to do for this.
Yes.
As I say, sometimes these things come with an immense amount of detail and very specific. Sometimes they don't. On this particular day, I'd done some other scripts that were for younger children, and therefore I was asked to do it quite slowly and quite clearly, almost monotone, or not quite monotone, but just very, very basic, very factual, not an awful lot of emotional inflection, just slow and understandable, which actually means it ends up sounding a bit dull, but, that's what the client wants.
That was what the
But
client
for that
wants, I was
audience,
gonna say.
exactly right.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Do you worry that type of work will be taken by AI then if they give you direction like that?
Yeah, sometimes. It's a funny world we live in at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah,
Everyone's
isn't
sort
it?
of second guessing where AI is going to go.
Indeed.
This particular type of work is it's peppered with stuff like this, which, yes, AI could do very easily. But then every now and then there's a little cute cartoony thing. So the dialogue I'm reading actually goes alongside a little comic strip for the kids so that they can read and listen. And then I get to do some silly voices and I get to do some emotion and I get to make it feel like a real living, breathing person.
Yeah.
So that stuff I'm not so concerned about.
Very interesting. Right, let's hear what you did for them.
Right. So I had, on this particular day, I had a lot of other work that was very slow for younger children, so I ended up doing this in quite a slow tone. So it went like this. Do you dream of flying to the moon? If so, you should start training for it now. First, you need to have a strong body, so exercise every day and develop healthy living habits. Second, learn about space science and the moon by studying and reading books. Finally, you should also learn how to pilot a spaceship. These steps will help make your dream come true.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
And it's actually quite hard to read that slowly.
I was going to say, it's so difficult that
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd have been able to do that.
And almost unnatural in the way it comes out
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. No one really talks like that, do they? It's it is almost as if they're just sort of reading it word by word from a dictionary.
Yeah.
almost.
It's like the bouncing ball, isn't it? Or,
Yes,
or
yes.
a very, very flat reading of the bouncing ball.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And some of it's like that, some of it isn't. Some of it, I do partner work. So sometimes I set up a call with another voice actor and we read dialogues so that the kids can learn what a conversation sounds like.
Sure.
Some of it's fast, some of it's slow.
I wonder if different places have different styles of learning as well.
Yes, I should think so, yeah. So some, depending on the country of origin, some of the scripts are better written, some of them are just plain interpreted through Google Translate, and they don't actually make any sense.
I get scripts like that too, Simon. It's like Google Translate, great for some things, terrible for others.
Yes, it has its niche areas.
Well, just a reminder that these are real scripts that we're working on, but we've changed names and some details to avoid copyright issues.
Yes. So, this is the little script I've brought along. It's tiny.
Can I stop you there just for a second,
Yes.
Sam? Because something that Simon said a moment ago has resonated with me. He said, I'm tempted for you not to tell me anything about this and to just do it because I've got an idea in my mind and it may be entirely wrong.
Okay.
Ooh.
But I wonder if
Yes,
you
yes,
would,
yes. No,
you'd allow me
absolutely.
to do that and then you can come back and say, no,
For
absolutely not.
sure. For
exciting.
sure.
And then, Simon, you can decide whether you want to know before you do it or after you do it.
Oh, this is exciting, isn't it? What'll we end up with?
All right, so
Okay.
let me have a go.
Go for it.
Can't you just admit you're not ready to make your own choice? Look at yourselves. You ended up on the side of the highway in a camping tent that's missing a pole. You pretty much stole our car and neither of you got a license when I last checked. And you had sex. The one rule we had while living under our roof, you were not allowed. The one rule! You broke it! This is not good decision-making.
Ooh. Angry dad.
Angry dad.
Wonderful.
Angry
Wonderful.
dad.
What did you think of my
great.
thoughts, Simon?
Oh, lovely. There was a lot of beautiful breaths in there and a couple of sighs and some exasperated, sometimes you didn't even quite get around to finishing the sentence because you were moving on to the
Yeah.
you're so, it was
So angry.
very, very personalised.
I found that quite easy to visualise, and I could see the two probably 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds in front of you, and it's like not even looking embarrassed.
Nice.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I'm interested. You started quite high.
Yep.
Did you feel as if you started, because obviously you've not done it before, you hadn't practiced it before, did you feel you started too high, or were there still places to go with it?
No, I thought there were still places to go, and that was a deliberate decision because it looked to me that is mid-argument.
Yeah.
It's like there'd been like 4 or 5 lines before that he'd been saying already.
And I love the fact that you took down "this is not good decision making" at the end.
Yes.
As if you were going, look, right now, I'm trying to
See you standing with your hands on your hips, your eyes rolling.
Very nice, but you were definitely dad, were you?
Definitely
dad to one of them.
Certainly dad to one of them. Can you give me a clue as to whether I was even in the right ballpark?
Well, absolutely you were. I mean, it's probably be interesting to find out who the two of them are later on, but I don't know if you want me to blow that.
Simon, do you want any more clues before you have a go, or do you want to do it blind?
Go in.
Okay.
Yeah. Can't you just admit you're not ready to make your own choices? Look at yourselves. You ended up on the side of the highway in a camping tent that's missing a pole. You pretty much stole our car, and neither of you had a license when I last checked. And you had sex. The one rule we had while living under our roof you were not allowed. The one rule. You broke it. This is not good decision making.
Oh God, the disappointment. The disappointment.
Yeah.
The dad you never want to see. Oh my God.
And that speech you would then remember for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you feel
you'd
the
be
guilt and the
hanging
shame,
your head
wouldn't you?
in shame. My God.
That was a really nice interpretation of that, I thought.
Yeah, and very different.
Yeah, and the disappointment was just so palpable.
So if I'd gone first, I would have, when I first read this, I thought, steaming, raging, angry dad,
right.
exactly the same thing. So I was going to go all shouty. And then because that's where you had gone, Mark, I kind of got halfway through and I suddenly thought, well, actually, no, this is probably the billionth argument they've had. It's probably, I've told you time and time again, and you're still not listening to me. Yeah. And as a father, I'm like, let's put a bit of that sort of disappointment and anguish in there, the frustration.
As I say, what I loved about it was that, you could take it in one way and you were able to take exactly the same words and put a totally different interpretation on, so angry, yes, but so disappointed. And so, I loved that aspect was the fact that you could have just simply done angry as Mark did, but it was nice to be able to ring the changes. For sure.
So, tell us a bit more then, Sam. Let's see if we were on the right tracks of where it was.
You absolutely were, and there is no way in a million years that you could have necessarily made the leap to who these two are. They're Adam and Eve. And this is the snake.
Oh, hang on.
I know it doesn't necessarily pull together if you think about it too much, but it was a modern interpretation of Adam and Eve, and they lived kind of in this downtown Los Angeles type place, although they weren't American. It was a kind of fantasy world.
Wow.
How interesting. And that coming from the point of view of the snake rather than from the point of view of God.
Yes.
The snake is there to make them feel guilty. He's there to make them feel bad about themselves.
After he had probably pushed them into doing it in the first place.
He probably gave them the keys to the car and said, go on.
And lent them the tent.
Yeah, exactly. With the deliberate missing pole.
Gave them the condom. Yeah.
But could you guess? So there was something quite, and I'll be interested to see if I can reproduce it now. Can you imagine what I had to lean into as the snake?
the S's.
Yeah,
Yes.
and there's a lot of S's, but not too much. Just almost like a sort of lisp. So it was a sort of infinitesimal. Can't you just admit?
So you're not speaking parcel tongue like in Harry Potter.
No.
Fair.
I didn't do this at high anger. I didn't do this shouty anger. I was more how I would imagine a snake doing it.
If that is the serpent of the Garden of Eden, that's anger with a touch of amusement because actually they've done what you want them to do.
Yes. It's almost. I wonder if the God figure is standing nearby and the serpent is kind of looking over his shoulder to think, I wonder how he's going to react to all of this. A little bit evil, a little bit cunning.
Oh, Sam, let's hear it then.
Well, okay.
Can't you just admit you're not ready to make your own choices? Look at yourselves. You ended up on the side of the highway in a camping tent that's missing a pole. You pretty much stole our car and neither of you have a license when I last checked. And you had sex. The one rule we had while living under our roof, you were not allowed. The one rule, you broke it. This is not good decision-making.
Fascinating.
Ooh, interesting.
There was a real depth of evil there as well. Interestingly, I thought that was very nice. And actually, I don't know if you were smiling on that final line, this is not good decision-making, but knowing who that character is, you would expect that to be a smile. It's not good decision-making, but I love it.
Yeah. I almost pictured you sort of angling your head down, but almost looking up through your eyebrows in a sort of creepy, sinister kind of way.
Yeah.
This is not good decision making.
And three very different interpretations of the same words, at least.
I suppose, yes. So that I think they wanted an intensity.
Certainly gave us that
with the one I did. Anyway, but it's a funny little script, isn't it? And actually, I bought it today because actually, what you said in your bio, Simon, because I thought it'd be nice to do a character. And so that was really nice to do some characters with that.
Yeah. I think it was interesting how each of us lent into different words. You know, one of us emphasised the stole our car as if that's the worst thing. Someone else emphasised the sex as if that was the worst thing. It draws out your own personal preferences and ideologies in a way, doesn't it? It's like, I think this is the worst bit. You think that's the worst bit.
I don't think there are any bad bits.
It all sounds like fun, really, doesn't it?
Oh, teenagers, honestly, what they like.
Play, how do you say that?
And of course, now it is time for the wild card.
Yes.
Ooh, so Simon,
Yes.
can you pick one of the scripts, either for Mark or for me, and give us something different to do with it?
Yes. Okay, so I'd like to pick script 2, The Teenagers with the Car, and I'd like Sam to do this one.
Yes.
And I'm sort of thinking completely the opposite of what it was before. It was very condemning, it was angry, it was judgmental.
Yeah.
I'd like you to do it as if you're cheering them on. Like you're a fellow teenager and look what a wild weekend you just had.
Okay. All right then. Okay. Can't you just admit you're not ready to make your own choices? I mean, look at yourselves. You ended up on the side of the highway in a camping tent that's missing a pole, and you pretty much stole our car, and neither of you have a license when I last checked, and you had sex. Yes, the one rule that we had while living under our roof that you were not allowed to do. Woohoo! The one rule. You broke it. That is not good decision making.
Excellent. I mean, absolutely. You could see them either as a brother being very proud or a best friend. How lovely.
The little additional whoops and hoorays and woohoos you put in there was fantastic.
Totally. I love that.
That's great. And
Really
the emphasis
nice.
on and you had sex. There's like,
Yes.
it was such a
You had
sneaky, sniggery little, I can't believe it.
The one thing we want to do. You had sex.
Go you guys, rebels.
Go guys. Yes, literally. Go guys. Right, Sam, I guess you have to think of one for me now.
What I want you to be, Mark, is a cat.
Oh.
And I think it would be easier to do script 2, so I'm going to give you script 1. So you're a kind of, you can choose which kind of cat you want to be, but I kind of see you as a bit of a sassy cat.
Yes. Okay. Amusingly, I've got all the Top Cat characters in my brain running through them at the moment. It's
You
like,
went Top Cat.
Here comes Officer Dibble.
I don't know if I'm going to end up Cartoon Cat.
Okay.
But that's just where my brain went to start with.
That's very interesting.
Let's see what comes out, shall we?
Yes.
Do you dream of flying to the moon? If so, you should start training for it now. First, you need to have a strong body. So exercise every day and develop healthy living habits. Second, learn about space science and the moon by studying and reading books. Finally, you should also learn how to pilot a spaceship. These steps will make your dream come true.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That was real cat.
I don't think that's what I expected to come out either.
I am really that was little Paddy Cat, wasn't it? Padding around,
Yeah.
stretching.
Yeah, stretching, did the stretching.
Oh, you did it so well. It's like you were a cat.
It's great how you use the meows and the purrs to actually form the next word. You actually sort of purred into, reading.
One of your best, I think, there, Mark, I have to say.
Thank you so much. I was actually embodying my sister's rather old and decrepit cat, Bob, who meows all the time, like he's actually talking to you.
Wow. I mean, that was just... I kind of got the feeling that you were settling down, a bit of padding around at the beginning, but then you was kind of settling down for a little bit of a snooze, I felt, at the end.
There was a nice, big, all four legs stretch halfway through, wasn't there? You sort of could feel
I think on exercise.
Yes, absolutely.
Was that on exercise every day, wasn't it?
So front
Yes.
and back, absolutely. The arch of the back there.
Yes.
And I did stretch right up to the roof of my booth.
Well, we have it on camera, I think.
We do.
Brilliant.
So that'll be the fun one to look back on.
All right, Simon, so I better pick one for you.
Okie dokie.
And I am taking into account that you said you want to do more animation, you want to do more big characters. So let's find a big character for you to do. I'm going to give you your script. So the one that didn't have very much emotion in. I would like you to be a cartoon animated mad professor trying to get people to come along and join the equivalent of Starfleet Academy, in effect.
Oh, my goodness.
That should give you a bit of room for manoeuvre, I think.
For sure.
Okay. Now, do you dream of flying to the moon? If so, you should start training for it now. First, you'll need to have a strong body, so exercise every day, and develop healthy living habits. Yeah. Now, second, learn about space science and the moon by studying and reading books. Yeah. Finally, you should also learn how to pilot a spaceship. It's very easy, very easy. These steps will help your dream come true.
Thank you, Albert Einstein.
Hooray!
Nicely done. Absolutely. Now, what made you go in that direction? So, what was the thing that you went, I know?
Do you know what it was? I instantly pictured a cartoon that my son used to watch called Perry the Platypus. And there's an evil scientist in there called Professor Doofenshmirtz.
Yeah.
So I had Doofenshmirtz in my head, and he talks a bit like that. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, the characterization was real. It was full. We could you could see it very easily, I thought.
Yeah.
And lots of excitement. And loved it.
It was what we talked about before. You threw away the line, you should also learn how to pilot a spaceship. That's the easiest thing in the world.
Yes, exactly.
And
that's
if
the
you
silver
have
thing.
time.
Well, as always, we've put these scripts in the show notes so you can have a try yourself in whatever genre you fancy.
Yes, indeed. Should you wish to do that.
Well, indeed, yeah.
So our question, actually, this is a segue into this question. Our question this week, Simon, is how useful do you find improv in your voiceover work?
I love it. I'm not sure how much I'd say I find it useful in my work. I find it a really nice antidote to my work sometimes. Because our work is all scripted, so we read other people's words. Sure, we're able to interpret those and add characterization to those, but it's always someone else's words. Improv is, as the name suggests, totally improvised. There are no scripts. You step up onto the stage and you don't quite know what's going to happen until you do it. And I find that really liberating, really freeing. A lot of creativity comes out in that. You're essentially writing your own scene and designing your own character and performing it and directing it. And it's quite different to all of this. So I find it a really useful release, especially when I'm doing an awful lot of e-learning stuff, which can be quite staid at times, you know. I really find it useful to go and let off steam and do something absolutely nuts.
I think improv is great for trying out different characters and actually just making you a bit looser, a bit more up for taking risks and up for making mistakes. Because, something that somebody told me really early on in voiceover, that the best thing you can do for yourself is do improv. And I think it's true.
Plus, it's just good fun.
It is good, unless you become a kind of professional improviser.
Or you're the foil for everybody else within that particular improv scene.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they have all the great things and then you're literally just setting it
There's
up.
joy in that as well, though. You know, you could go on the stage with practically no words and you could just bring some comedic relief to it through your physicality or, you know, just the particular delivery of your one single line could really be the linchpin of everyone else's scene, you know.
Have you two ever had the situation where you're in the middle of an improv and there is another actor on stage literally that shuts down everything you're doing? That's a nightmare, isn't it?
Rule 101, isn't it? Yeah, of course you do. But
it's the whole yes and thing, isn't it? You just fully embrace whatever even if you've had an idea and you're supposed to go up with a blank canvas and no idea what's going to happen, but inevitably you end up thinking, oh, this would be cool. And then someone else stands up and says, hello, I'm a talking banana. And you think, well, I wasn't prepared for that. I'm going to have to embrace that talking banana and do something with it.
Simon, thank you so much for coming on the show. It has been really, really fun having you along. And a reminder that all of Simon's details can be found in the show notes, including those of Factorially as well. I hope you've enjoyed it.
It's been great. It's been so much fun. Thank you. I listen to this show every week and I keep on thinking, I know him, I know her, I know them. So it's been great to be here. Thank you.
And of course, remember that you can like and subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That wasn't just directed at you, actually, Simon. That was sort of directed
I'll do it anyway.
Everybody can do that. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks again to Simon Wells. We'll be back next week with more scripts and another voiceover guest when we'll be asking all together now, Simon and Sam, how
do you say
that?
How do you say that?